Is this the most dangerous thing I own? That might seem like a ridiculous question, but recently I can't help but feel that the world is trying to convince me that my phone is bad. Dumb phones, minimalist launchers, e-ink modes, app timers, and even timer-controlled smartphone lock boxes are more popular than ever, and all seem to be sending the same message. You are addicted to your phone, it's unhealthy, and you need to stop. But here's the thing. Nah, I'm good with my phone, thanks. So over the past few years, digital detoxing has become a buzzword. Essentially, the argument is that we spend way too much time on our phones, which lowers our attention spans, makes us depressed, and causes us to lose touch with humanity. People understand this, but can't seem to stop themselves from being chronically online. This leads them to digital detoxing, in which they attempt to force themselves to stop using their phone in some way or another. Now, I will admit that this is a very real problem, and digital detoxing can have a net positive effect for people who go through with it. There are plenty of scientific papers out there on this topic that all come to the same conclusion. People tend to be happier when they reduce the amount of time they are on their phones. But what's been happening recently is that the pendulum is starting to swing too far to the other side. Now, it's not that phones are cool, but we're using them too much. It's now smartphones are inherently bad, and the responsible thing to do is to try not to use one whenever possible. This is leading to people around the world buying tech that smartphones once replaced, like MP3 players, point-and-shoot cameras, and even dumb phones. So, this video was partly inspired by a recent video from Becca Farsacci, who left her phone at home for a week and talks about how that worked out for her. It's an amazing video by one of the best YouTubers around, so please go and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. One of the issues she faces during this experiment, though, is figuring out how to go through her daily life without a phone in her pocket. To listen to music, she gets a Walkman and buys a bunch of cassette tapes for it. To replace using Google Maps, she needs to write down directions to all the places she wants to go that day. Her calendar needs to be written out too, and she needs to lug a big camera with her. While this is a great video made by someone I deeply respect and admire, I couldn't help but find myself saying the same thing over and over while watching it. Nope. That all sounds terrible. Leaving my phone at home sounds like an awful thing to do. At first, I started thinking to myself that maybe I'm addicted to my phone and I just don't know it. Maybe I'm in denial about it and just lying to myself by saying I can stop anytime I want. But I spent a bunch of time thinking about the topic and realized that this isn't the problem. So what I did was go through my app usage history using digital well-being. I found that on any given day, I have about 3 to 4 hours of screen time, which seems like a lot. One app stood out to me as being a real time suck, but I'll get to that in a bit. What stood out to me more, though, was how much of my screen time was spent doing things that aren't at all addictive or problematic. On February 28th, I spent nearly 40 minutes using Google Calendar. This was while I was getting ready for my time at Mobile World Congress, so I was planning out my days. On March 8th, I spent 37 minutes in Plexamp listening to music. On March 14th, I spent 22 minutes in Wikipedia because I had become fascinated with the life of Shigeru Miyamoto, the legendary game designer at Nintendo who is directly responsible for the creation of Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong, which is just crazy. On March 15th, I spent nearly 2 hours in Google Maps because I needed to navigate to and from a Nine Inch Nails concert. In all these cases, what I was doing with my phone was something utilitarian. I'm not addicted to Google Calendar. And I'm not doom scrolling Wikipedia. I'm certainly not listening to too much music. In fact, I'm surprised that my Plexamp usage wasn't higher that day, and I can only hope that I'll be listening to more and more music in the future. The one app that I see suck up a lot of my time is Relay, which is a third-party Reddit app. I definitely spend way too much time on Reddit. That I will fully admit. But that just illuminates the whole problem here. It's not that I'm spending too much time on my phone. I spend too much time on Reddit. If I'm looking for a solution to that problem, I need to focus on the actual problem, which isn't my entire phone, it's just that one app. You might not use Reddit, but you might have some other app that sucks up your time more than you'd care to admit. Maybe it's Instagram, or maybe it's a mobile game. Hey, maybe it's YouTube. Speaking of which, why not like and subscribe if you've made it this far? So if you're feeling like you're addicted to your smartphone, do what I did. Open up the Digital Wellbeing app if you're on Android, or the Screen Time feature if you're on an iPhone, and see what specific apps are sucking up your time. Figure that out, and then figure out the best way to limit your time in those specific services. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater and leave your entire phone in a locker or buy a dumb phone to replace it. Just focus on what really matters. For my Reddit problem, I'm now using the app timer feature in Digital Wellbeing. You could do this too. Just open up Digital Wellbeing and scroll down to app timers. Tap that, and then tap the app on the list that you want to limit. Tap app timer and set this to a reasonable daily amount. For me, I set it for an hour. Now, any day that I use Relay for 59 minutes, I'll get a warning that I only have 1 minute left. When I use up that last minute, the app will be paused and I won't be able to use it until the timer resets at midnight. Even if I try to open it again, Android will continue to block it. The only way to remove the block is to go back into Digital Wellbeing and turn off the 1 hour limit. So there you go. I've acknowledged that I use an app too much, used the included tools within Android to address that problem, and that's that. The smartphone wasn't the problem. Similarly, my laptop isn't the problem if I find myself gaming too much. And my TV isn't the problem if I find myself vegging out on the couch watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the 100th time. The one exception to this where the smartphone itself is the problem is when you are using your phone at times that you shouldn't. Your phone shouldn't be out when you're at the movies, or on a date, or hanging out with your friends. Being present in the real life moments you're having is important, so put the phone away. Also, it's just rude to have your phone out during those times, so don't be that guy. One final thing I want to talk about here is that sometimes it's not the amount of time you spend in an app, but what you do there. I like to think that my time spent on Reddit is positive. I read about my favorite topics, catch up on what's going on in the news, and of course, LOL at all the memes. But should I be doing this for 2 hours each day? Probably not. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing. But if I were going on Reddit to comment on politics, or found myself to be a member of a toxic echo chamber community, then my time on Reddit would be mentally exhausting and probably leave me depressed, whether I'm spending 2 hours there or just 10 minutes. I don't use Instagram much, but I know it can be really bad for your mental health if you're constantly looking at the perfect lives of influencers who artificially paint themselves a certain way with the specific intention of making you feel bad about yourself. In those cases, maybe you need to examine why you use these apps in the first place. If you've tried to pull yourself away from them, maybe something stricter like blocking an app entirely might make sense. If that doesn't work, then it might be time to get help, either from a support group or a mental health professional. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. You just might need a boost to get yourself on track. But if you start getting tempted to ditch your phone for a dumb phone or lock it away somewhere, you're not really addressing the main issue, so it's never going to get fixed. You're just going to get your phone back at some point and get right back to the bad habits because you never worked on the actual problem. Anyway, I'm glad I got to say all this. Smartphones are wonderful. I really do think they've made the world a better place. Yes, they've also created new problems that we never had prior and have been the source for many terrible things. But in the end, I feel the good they do outweighs the bad. So I'm here to say that I love my smartphone, and I won't be giving it up anytime soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic down in the comments, so feel free to speak your mind. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to see another hot take of mine, check out this video here where I talk about how terrific the Google Tensor chipset is. I'll see you all down in the comments.